you for inviting me to your meeting. And when Howard asked me to speak with you, I asked myself, what benefit or skill could I possibly provide to such a highly motivated, group as yourself already? I mean, you people are, on the top of our society. You have a fulfilled life. You're out helping others, and you're doing great things. And it's fascinating how, everyone's mind is designed a little bit different. We all have special skill sets, and we have certain gifts that, when I was growing up, I didn't really think I had a lot to offer. I was a very underperforming individual growing up. I had trouble with school. I was actually a CD student till I was halfway through high school. And in the twinkle of an eye, my mind totally changed. And I went from all C's and D's to all B's and A's. And I didn't even intentionally do anything to make that transition. And it always does. It just amazed me that something like that could happen, to totally transform a life, and without even understanding what transpired at that time. And the thing is did I instantly become a genius, overnight? It was on a break between semesters. And what fascinated me is how I could instantly make that major shift without an understanding. And we all have that in us. We can all take, and once we have access to that other part of our mind, because we have that conscious part of our mind. My mind, I'm considered an overly analytical thinker as general, compared to most hypnotists. Most hypnotists are very emotional, where I'm more on the analytical side. And I was actually in engineering, research, and development. And it's that research mind that I was always curious about, why I had certain epiphanies in my life, how things for me seemed to change all of a sudden. Most of my life wasn't like long, slow, gradual learnings. They were major epiphany changes. And I got really curious and thinking and started studying. And I did a lot of meditation when I was younger, because I had a lot of sort of stress and emotional challenges. And the more I studied, I started coming across motivation, studying Zig Ziglar and a lot of these people, and that led me to hypnosis. And then after hypnosis, I became an NLP practitioner. And what's fascinating about how the mind works is we're aware of a conscious thinking. When we sit down and we try to analyze something or reason something out, and it's usually sequential and analytical, but there's that other part of the mind where the magic happens. And it's really fascinating when you look at it. You have a bad dream. And when you have a bad dream and you wake up and you're sweaty and your heart is beating like crazy, and that was a fantasy, yet there was a part of our mind that experienced that as if it was actually happening, that it was really actually reality. And it really gets you to think, well, if your body reacts to that fantasy, how are we actually reacting to reality? Because as you're all listening to me right now, and we're all experiencing this reality, we all walk away with a different perception of this experience. And so we create our own perceptions of the reality that took place. And we're actually creating, a movie of our life. We, by our thoughts and our actions, we create habits and emotions, because our habits and emotions aren't in that analytical part of the mind that we're most familiar with. And we end up doing things sometimes that we know we shouldn't do. And so why do we do that? Because analytically, we'd say, well, gee, that was really stupid. And why did we do that? And it just goes to show you we have another part of our mind. And that part of our mind is way more powerful. It's what helps us breathe. That's what keeps our heart beating, creates the electricity in our bodies. And we're not even aware of how that all happens. It's just happening without us consciously thinking about it. Well, a lot of what we do during the day, you think about the idea that if we had to focus on walking, okay, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, we wouldn't be able to focus on anything else. So the other part of our brain is where that we create those habits and we create those emotions and we create all the things that we learn, like riding a bicycle. First you learn to balance, pedal, and steer. Well, right now you say, well, that's no big deal, but you think about how hard it was just to do those three things. And once you learn once I started moving, it was easy to balance. But then once you were moving and balancing and pedaling, you had to end up figuring out how to steer. And now you get on a bicycle, what happens? You just ask, well, where do I want to go? You don't think about all those other parts, those other pieces. So that's that other part of our mind that's really powerful. It stores that information as we learn, and then it becomes a habit, and we can do those automatically. And we all learn, but once we understand how this process is happening, then we could actually use that to expand any area of our life. The idea that anger and certain emotions are actually learned responses. And if someone is having anger issues all the time, sometimes it can be a chemical, imbalance in the body, but quite often is like when a child learns to cry to get fed, and you feed the child, and then the child keeps crying. So, maybe it needs warmth or comfort. But if a child is still whining at 18 years old, it has the opposite reaction. And so sometimes we have to learn new behaviors as we mature and change new positions in life. So the idea is once people understand that how to access that other part of their mind, because you're already using hypnosis, you're already using NLP, but that's just a name that we use to explain it. What it really is NLP, mindfulness, meditation. What that really is, it's all about creating trance states. Like back to when you're driving that car and you get to your destination, you go, wow, I don't remember the trip. Well, who's driving the car? Who was stopping at the red lights? Hopefully. And, who was, avoiding all those cars beside us? So who's driving that car? A lot of that was actually autopilot, that you've driven that destination so many times that you consciously don't have to think about it. You're thinking about other things. Like, what are you going to do for the Rotary Club tonight? And, things like that. What's really fascinating, I did create a presentation tonight, and then I realized, because I was thinking that it's, it was going to be later, because it's a little later here, but I realized that people would be driving home, and the presentation that I was going to do would have been very dangerous for you. So I did, I'll give you an email address at the end here, and anyone that wants a 10-minute video to really expand your awareness and how to access that area of your mind by doing a simple, you just close your eyes, and I will walk you through your kitchen. And when you experience it, it'll actually be fascinating. And you'll be able to apply that to any area of your life. And the idea, too, is that, we have unlimited possibilities. You ever, work on something and you finally give up on it and you walk away, and later on, the solution comes to you. And you wonder, wow, how did that happen? So just think that if you intentionally understand that process, how you can take and speak to that other part of your mind, instead of doing that conscious analytical part of your mind, you can intentionally speak to the other part of your mind that is doing all this work in the background, that is finding solutions for you. And you can actually give it a command and say, gee, I'm working on this project, and I'd like you to create some order for it. I would like you to create some solutions for these parts. And then you just go on your way. And that starts filling in. Now, some people are already so good at this, it's incredible. They're just like masters at, organization. And they've learned to do this already, and they don't call it trance, they don't call it hypnosis. They just somehow discovered how to tap into that area of their mind. And, don't have to think about it. They learned how to sort of like ride the bicycle without having to go through the steps of intentionally learning how to ride a bicycle. Their mind just figured out how to lead them through these processes. And everyone has a gift in a certain area of their lives, and that's how they did master that gift, is they didn't use necessarily the conscious part. They discovered how to have a conversation with that other part to sharpen those skills and create and become aware of information to make it easier. So we all experience trance each and every day, and we all use that state. It's just we didn't necessarily recognize it for what it was. It's you ever go to a movie, even whether it's at home or you go to a theater, and the movie is so good that you don't even realize whether you're in the theater or you're at home. And I remember watching that movie, The Cliffhanger, and I go to show you how your mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. Cliffhanger was quite a while ago, and I remember being in that movie, and Sylvester Stallone, was on the edge of dying over and over and over, hanging from that helicopter, walking across the cables, hanging from cliffs. And that was so well done and so emotional that the entire movie, he was on the edge of death. And I remember getting home, and my mind and my body still didn't realize that was just a fantasy, just a movie. My adrenaline was still pumping a half an hour later. And so when you take and create your life, you experience your life, you're actually creating movies and scenes in those movies. And the question comes down to, what scenes are you playing? What scenes are you creating for the movie of your life? Because you are the director. You are the creator of your beliefs. You are the creator of your habits. You're creator of your emotions. And it's about your wonderful life. And when you take captive those thoughts, and you realize that you can ask your mind to start creating good things and creating more positive things in your life. And when you get a negative thought, a negative emotion, stop right there. Experience that emotion. And allow that emotion, you think about it. You say, gee, is this real? Or is this built on a fantasy? Am I worried about something that hasn't even occurred yet? People that live in the past, they're always thinking about their past. They have a tendency to experience more depression than most people. The past is the past. Those are life experiences, and they're rich, whether they were comfortable or not. They were rich experiences. So if you have those experiences and you have a negative emotion attached to that experience, then you need to think about that and say, okay, well, it happened. Can I do anything about it? And if you can't, allow the emotions, recognize the emotions for what they were. They were just part of that experience, and they no longer serve, the emotions no longer serve the purpose. Because people in the past, they keep thinking about the past, and they allow that to hold them in a depressive mood. So just deal with it for what it is. You don't have to get rid of that memory, but it is good to just allow the emotion to pass. And the people that are always worried about the future, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this presentation doesn't go well? Or what if somebody doesn't like me? Well, I can't be worrying about that. I can't be worried about whether or not you guys accept what I have to offer. Some will, some won't, so what? But if I was worried about this presentation and I'd be nervous and anxious about it, that's where we have anxiety. It's not to say we don't plan for the future, but to have anxiety about it And that's where a lot of people that have a lot of anxiety are worried about the future. So understand that living in the moment is really, really important. Plan for the future, experience life of the past, but the idea is, where are we right now? And does a bad emotion help me feel uncomfortable in front of you? As a speaker, if we're really anxious, we can't think and relax about the thoughts. Just actually talking about being anxious, the speaking is making me stutter. But the idea is, so instead, replace that with a good thought. Man, how awesome this feels, and how nice it is to be able to share these moments with so many people. And that negative emotion clears, and I don't have to hesitate as much. The idea of NLP is really fascinating. NLP it came out of hypnosis, and it's a matter of our physical language, our body language as we speak. If I had my arms like this, I'm speaking to you, and what emotion that creates. Or if I'm relaxed like this, or if I really had to be confident because someone was giving me a hard time, and I put my hands on my hips. And you guys can actually, do that. Put your hands on your hips and feel your body change. And not if you're driving, but you can actually feel that, if you need to go up and speak in front of the group at the Rotary in the future, take and do the Superman or the Superwoman pose for a moment, and actually get your physiology. Your physiology actually changes, and fold your arms, and you can feel that. So, you put your arms out like this, and you feel like a gorilla, and it's amazing how you do that, and you feel open and relaxed, and you can receive what the abundance that the world has to offer you. It's just amazing that physiology can change so much of your life experience. And what else did I have here for you? So it is really interesting how we plan life. And I ended up had a great presentation for you, and realized that I couldn't do it the way I wanted to do it. And I could have been nervous about that, and I chose not to be. And so I do have an email for you, and it's free gift at TampaHypnosisCenter.com. So free gift at TampaHypnosisCenter.com. And anyone that would like a free video, which is way better than this presentation because it's experiential, and it will really open up your awareness to a part of your mind that you cannot deny, and you use it every day. But this will allow you to accomplish some great things in life. And, I look at it, it's one of the great secrets. And I call it a great secret because no one ever shared it with me. And, you can call it hypnosis, you can call it NLP, you can call it mindfulness, you call it whatever you like. It's something that you're already using. It's something that you're already experiencing. And I really want to encourage you guys. I don't get any benefit of you, watching that 10-minute video I prepared for you. But I would share it with, that experience. And you don't have to necessarily share the video. You can just share that experience with other people and walk them through that. And it's best if, you're at a quiet place, you don't have interruptions, and you don't have dogs jumping all over you. And if you want to do it with your eyes open at first because you're not sure, that's fine. But with your eyes closed, it is such a rich experience. If you do that with your eyes closed, and the more often you do it, the more you will exercise that part of your brain. It's like you're exercising a muscle. You go to the gym once, you get sore muscles. And but if you really want to build a muscle, you need to grow it. Well, the brain is probably one of the most powerful muscles. And what's fascinating, you ever hear someone say, wow, I got to have a gut feeling about that? Well, it just so happens that your stomach is made of the same material as your brain. And there's people that say that your gut has memory. And so it's really, really fascinating that when you feel a feeling down there, it may actually be stored memory, which is fascinating. If you ever feel emotions in your life, everyone stores emotion in different places. I sold cars for a few months, and there's nothing wrong with being a car salesman, but the dealership I worked for was the most corrupt dealership in town, and we took training. The training was awesome. We actually had training for 2 weeks. And then we went over to the dealership. The dealership said, listen, forget everything they taught you. You do what I tell you to do. Yeah. And I can't believe that the owners of the company wasted all that money on us, because this guy took and washed everything good we learned. And they slowly made us do things that were not only illegal. You have things that are illegal and you have things that are dishonest. And, some things that are legal are still dishonest. Well, they had us do all of them. And I developed a pain right here in my heart. It was like a stone, probably the size of the tip of my thumb. And every day I'd wake up, I noticed that stone was there. And all day long, when I went to bed, within 48 hours of quitting that job, that stone totally disappeared. So when you do things that are dishonest in life, it creates dis-ease somewhere in the body. And if you're uptight and you're either depressed or you're anxious, that creates stress and tension in certain areas of your body. I carry my stress in my shoulders. So whenever I get stressed, it really tightens up in the back. And I know that when I go for my massage, they say, man, your shoulders are really tight. And I go, yeah, I know. And but there's some people will carry that stress in their heart. So if you're experiencing emotions, you can just do a scan of your body, and you can say, okay, take a deep breath and relax. And you go through and you relax every muscle in your body. You start at the top and go down. If you have a lot of tension in your body, try to find out what that emotion is that's driving that. If it's a relationship with someone, deal with it and allow that emotion to bring you, rather than try to just go to a memory or things that are bothering you, find an emotion. And you can follow that emotion back to where you first learned anger, to where if you're having a relationship problem, then you can take and follow that emotion back anywhere you want. I guess if there's time, I could open up to any questions at all about, well, let me say this. Hypnosis is by far the most effective way to